so excited to share with you guys this morning. Most of us have been saying, what am I going to say in 16 minutes? And I'm thinking, I'm a kids pastor. I usually only get 8. This is awesome. So I'm so excited. I'm going to share with you guys this morning on building the leadership team of your dreams. So write that down. You're going to want to remember this. Kids church can and should be crazy sometimes. Am I right? Like, you know those days where you're just like, this is crazy! And it should be that way. From slime to lovable characters, hilarious skits, exhausting dance moves, workout, right? Every Sunday morning, I'm like, after praise. It's crazy. There's a lot of planning, energy, and effort that goes into our weekend services. You can't get around it. It's game day. And especially in today's culture, we have to fight more than ever to stay constantly creative and keep kids' attention. It's not easy. With the internet and YouTube, it's like kids have seen everything. Nothing is cool to them because they can Google whatever they want. And we have to fight for their attention. What we present in our services must not only be excellent, it has to be creative. It has to be innovative. We don't have a choice. It has to be something that will grab their attention. If it's not, kids will tune you out, and they will never engage with what you're trying to teach them. They will never have that moment of connection. If you're not going that extra mile into that creative, I'm going to grab you right now. It's so important. And we all know that our message is vital. It's important. It's the most important. We're not important. Jesus is important. But we have to have creative and innovative and excellent methods to get that message across because they have so many options today. So many options. And keeping kids' attention, it's really a hot topic all the time in the Kidmin world. How do you do it? And it can be really difficult. It can be something that we really struggle with. You, I'm sure, have all had those days where you're just like, wow, that was rough. That was rough. I was thinking it through in my head, and I thought it was going to be awesome, and then they didn't connect. They weren't getting what I was trying to say in that moment. I have other kids pastors ask me questions about my rules in kids' church or my procedures or how I deal with discipline, and they're quite often shocked when I say I don't have any. I don't have any rules. I believe and know from experience that if kids are engaged with what you're doing and they're not bored, you will rarely have discipline problems. If kids are constantly talking over you, misbehaving, or being distracted, you're doing something wrong. You are doing something wrong. Kids sit through 2-hour movies, they play video games for hours, and we should be able to keep their attention for the length of church service. Even when your pastor preaches for 30 minutes longer than is on Planning Center for that day. Amen?
Come on now.
Okay. Now, I know that this is easier said than done. I know that we can sit in a room and talk about how we need to keep kids' attention, but how do we actually do this? How do we grab them so that they actually hear, learn, engage, and grow through what we're trying to tell them on a Sunday morning? And I believe the key is training up an amazing group of people who the kids can love, trust, and look up to. And I'm talking about teenagers. I'm talking about teenagers. Some of you may be thinking, that's not where I thought you were going with this. I think you're crazy. What are you talking about? But I have been doing this for 11 years now, and I can honestly say that I would take a crazy group of teenagers as my core of my kids' ministry team over anybody. Over anybody, any day. I was 18 years old, almost 18, when I became the kids' pastor at the church that I'm still at today. I got tricked into it. True story. They said, will you just be the kids' pastor till we find somebody? And I don't know if they're still looking, but they never found anybody. So I'm still the kids' pastor. My church, when I started, was it wasn't really small, but our kids' ministry was really small. It was me and me. I started with no volunteers, none. It was me. I quickly realized that I couldn't do everything by myself because I tried, and then I realized this is not the best thing for me, and it's not the best thing for my kids. I couldn't do it by myself. But I realized I was desperate for volunteers, but I was not even 18 yet, so I was terrified of adults, which is not really good when you're a kids pastor because you deal with adults a lot. But I was terrified of adults. I was 17. And I'm like, you're letting me teach your kids? Okay. But I was terrified of adults, so out of desperation, I asked 2 7th graders if they would like to join my team. I didn't have a team, but they were going to be the team. They didn't know that. But I was like, hey, you want to be on my team? And they're like, sure. Thinking back on those times, I laughed because I realized now I had no clue what I was doing. And I'm being completely honest when I say that those first few years for me were rough. I made a lot of mistakes. But as I began to learn, grow, and develop as a leader, and I went to college, that really helped. We grew. It did, it helped. And as we started to grow, I started adding more people to my team. And adults weren't scary to me anymore, but I was still adding teenagers to my team, but this time it was on purpose. This time, it was on purpose. This morning, I want to share with you 3 reasons why I truly believe that teenagers are the best kidmin leaders. They are the best. This is some of my team, which, this is our sheep flamingo. He's our character right now. He's awesome. Number 1, they are in the ideal phase of life. The ideal phase of life. Teenagers are willing to be silly, they're willing to be fun, and you don't even have to convince them. You don't have to talk them into it. You don't have to train them how to be crazy. They just are. My team is always ready and willing to have fun, so the kids always have fun. It's always fun because they're crazy. Sometimes I'm like, okay, guys, calm, let's bring it in. But they're crazy, so the kids always have fun. As teenagers, my leaders are automatically role models to my kids. Automatically. Kids already want to be like teenagers. They already think that all teenagers are cool. So when my teenage leaders get up and start worshiping Jesus, my kids follow. Why? Because it's obviously the cool thing to do. It's obviously what everybody's doing if these teenagers are doing it, and I want to be just like them. I honestly have 6th grade boys in my ministry that say, I'm so sad I have to leave in 3 months. When can I be on the Hydrate team? Often that happens. Teenagers are also more connected with the current kid culture. I'm only 28, and I already noticed a widening gap between what I know as cool and what the kids live every day. But they're there. They live it. So they help me keep kids' church relevant and cool to the kids sitting in the chairs. It doesn't matter if it's cool to me. What do they think is cool today? And teenagers are also in the ideal phase of life because, let's be real, they honestly have nothing better to do. How awesome is that? If you can get a teenager on your team before they can drive or have a job, when they start driving and get a job, kids ministry will already be their priority.
That's good. Come on.
The teen learns to make space for ministry in their busy schedule before they ever have a busy schedule. I have practice for my team every Thursday at 4:30. If you can't come to practice, you can't be on the team. It's a requirement. Do you know how often that prevents someone from being on my team? Almost never. And when they do start working, they say, I can't work on Thursdays. Because they've already learned to prioritize ministry in their life. Number 2, you can shape them into the leader you've always dreamed of. Teenagers are a leadership blank slate. For most of them, this is the first time they have ever been placed in a leadership position, which can be scary sometimes. I understand that. You can truly develop your ideal leadership team. It doesn't start that way, but you can grow and invest in them and develop them. And let me tell you something. I've had teenagers on my leadership team for 8 years, and they are so much farther ahead of where I was when I was 18, it blows my mind. Some people see teenagers as a negative because it's a lot of work. You have to be willing to invest the time in them. You have to invest in them as people and be willing to grow with them and take them in their weak moments and not go, oh, well, you're done. I can't deal with you. You have to be willing to put the time and the effort into them, but they will turn into the best leader you've ever had. They're shapeable. They're teachable. It takes a lot of patience. I remember several years ago now, I had a 15-year-old. He came out of my kids' ministry. He wanted to be on my kids' ministry team, and it was his first day to actually say something on the stage. And he walked up super confident, and he said, everyone bow your heads and close your eyes. Praying for the offering. Dear Jesus, thank you for this food. And then he just froze. And I'm in the back going, just keep going. Just keep going. And this is all I got. And so I'm in the back and I go, say something. Amen. And he just ran off the stage. I thought it was hilarious. But over time, this same young man turned into one of the best onstage leaders I've ever had. He was incredible. But it was through coaching, it was through training that he developed into a significant presence in my kids' ministry. I mean, obviously, it wasn't ideal for him to pray for his food instead of the offering, but we all have to start somewhere, right?
Come on.
I now work with, I'm not lying, if I could write out what I would want in my perfect leadership team, it's my team right now. And it's because most of them grew up in my kids' ministry and are now my leaders. Number 3, it's life-changing for them. Serving others and doing ministry is a foundational part of Christianity, but people never learn to do this. Or they learn long after coming to Christ. My teenage leaders learn this before they even develop into the person that they're going to be. And because of that, ministry defines who they are. Here are some quotes from some of my leaders right now. Matt was 17 when he joined my ministry team, which is older than most. He came to my church by himself. He said, "The Hydrate team changed my life. I learned to be on a team and not think of myself all the time. It taught me to put others first." And I just said, hey, can you text me a sentence or two about why you like being on the Hydrate team? Matt later invited his parents and his brother to church. They all got saved, and now they all serve somewhere.
Wow, praise God.
Caitlin came from a broken family. She was 13 when she joined my team. She was actually one of the 2 7th graders that I said, hey, you want to be on my team? She's still with me today. She said, being on the kids ministry team for the last 8 years has taught me so much about how to love, how to serve, and how to find joy in ministry. The opportunities that I've had to just minister in kids' church are far greater than I could have possibly dreamed. I get to serve and use the gifts God has given me. Drake, who is 16, said, being on the Hydrate team changed my life greatly by making me more and more passionate about ministering to kids. Hydrate was really the stepping stone into my life of ministry. His family's unsaved. He invites them every Sunday. So far, his brother has accepted Christ. Annie was 14 when she joined my team. She was adopted, and her birth mom was a cocaine addict. She didn't walk until she was 3. She didn't talk until she was 5. And she has grown up and struggled with a severe stutter her whole life. And she said, she said, being on the Hydrate team has helped me realize that I am special and I have a significant purpose. It's life-changing for them. Using teenagers to build a ministry team is difficult. I'm not standing up here telling you that it's easy, because it's not. But it's so worth it. When Scott said, just talk about what you're most passionate about, I was like, okay, I'm talking about teenagers. Because when I invest in them, they can multiply and can reach so many more kids. Yes, adults can do it too, but teenagers, they're just always there. They're available. They can invest in the kids in a way that an adult can't. And it's true. They can invest in the kids in the way that an adult can't. As Jesus ministered to the masses, he called the disciples to follow him. And they too were mostly teenagers. First, he showed them how to do ministry. Then he let them participate in ministry while he was with them. Then he sent them out to do ministry on their own. I get to teach my kids about God's love, the importance of his word, and the love of Jesus. And I get to, at the same time, train my leadership team to do ministry. It begins slowly, some of them more slowly than others, depending on their skill. But they get to watch, and then they get to do, and then they get released. And it's amazing to watch. Just this Sunday, I was at my husband's church, and my ministry team ran kids' church, everything completely by themselves. They're teenagers. And it was amazing. Obviously, there's adults in the room. But my teenagers are running service. And it's incredible. If you could see them, it would blow your mind. They're like college graduates. And it's because I have invested in their lives, and they've really been through, some of them, an 8-year internship. And every single one of these people are going into the ministry. And I have people that aren't on my team now that have gone on and left, and there's like 3 of them at Southwestern, 2 at North Central, and they're all going into full-time ministry. Seventh graders are sad to leave kids' church, and it should be that way. Yes, they need to go into the youth group. Yes, they're ready, but they should be sad to leave. I had to convince them that junior high ministry is cool too, even though I secretly know they won't like it as much because you can't really compete with everything we do in kids' church. But it's true. But it's not because of me. It's because of my team. So I challenge you today, pick those teenagers, even if you can't see anything significant in them now. Don't look at them now. Look at what they can be.
That's right.
Thank you.